Hey everybody, Dave Lowe with isiFederal, and I have a treat for you today. This is a recap of what we did at the NVSBE show up in Minneapolis last week. And when we did this online, we had a super special guest that came from the government, contracting officer, that talked about exactly how things work. And this is a contracting officer with a warrant capability now of $25 million. So this session went over by 20 minutes because of the dialogue. You can watch the whole thing or watch the segments that are most important to you. The first session deals with the system itself. What is the system? What's the belief structure? What do you believe about the system? What makes opportunities winnable? What is an opportunity matrix? That's what we developed. You can download that worksheet as well. Just look for the link down underneath of here. And how many RFPs are wired for the competition? So this is the first session. Feel free to watch whatever you like or fast forward to whatever you need to. But enjoy these sessions. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. We'd love to help you out. Thanks. Well, good. I'm glad everybody could join us today. We got a bunch of folks still popping in, and we appreciate you guys coming. Hopefully, we may even fill up because of the number of people that have registered recently. So we, especially folks that are new, we're glad that you're here and glad that you decided to join us. This is actually a recap of what I just did last Wednesday at the NVSBE show up in Minnesota. We had a great time, and we'll get to some of those things. So real quick, you've been hearing somebody else. His name is Jamie Zell. He's our GSA specialist. They do GSA development management and revisions with GSAlogic.net. Right, Jamie? Give us a reason why it's important for them to reach out to you.
Well, for starters, we do the GSA schedule process, which is taking you from stem to stern. We guarantee the award of your GSA schedule. We've been doing it over 14 years now, and as you know, Dave, we have never, ever missed. Guarantee the award and never missed. And also, too, living with your schedule down the road is an important element, and we help you with the maintenance, the revisions, all the elements of your schedule from start to finish. And we're not expensive either. We're not some of the guys that are like up there in that DC Beltway. They're 15, 18,000. We get the job done and have a very low price point. Love to be able to help you with that. And feel free to reach out to me. My direct number, hopefully, will be at the end of this show here, but it's 937-602-8930.
There you go. And if you need, you can reach out to me too, and we can plug you right in with that. So with that, I want to make sure. Let me get that out of the way. That's really crazy. So Solar, I don't know if Solar actually made it in yet. He's on the West Coast, so we give him a little grace for being out there this early. So with that. Positively, Solar deals with the FAR and making sure that the contracts are reviewed and that dealing with compliance and also security. We're reaching out to folks for him. Tomorrow we have a briefing actually with him, with the federal folks, because of some things that are happening with IT security. So he handles things like that, very good at what he does. So please feel free to reach out to him and make sure that if you have any questions with the FAR support. And with me we have Steve Hoffman. Steve, say hey.
Hey.
Hey. So Steve and I connected, I guess, a couple weeks ago, right? And I don't know how our paths exactly crossed, but Steve does marketing and communications, especially when it comes to content marketing. And the reason why I wanted Steve here today is we actually used some content marketing in one of the case studies we're going to be talking about. And that's white paper development and floating a white paper, which is an interesting way to be able to get exposure to some key decision makers that we'll talk about in a little bit. So tell us about you, Steve. How did you get started, and what do you do every day?
Well, we specialize in writing white papers, and we've been doing that for over 20 years. We've been in business for 30, and it's a key part of content marketing, as you said, Dave. We recently decided to even pull together some best practices on white papers for content marketing. We call it the white paper on white papers. It's the mother of all white papers, we call it too. We've tried to pull together all of our best practices on, we gathered over the years on how you can use white papers for content marketing. And so if anybody's interested in that, I'd be happy to send that to you. It's available. And so that's basically what we do, and we're happy to help anybody that wants to convey useful information, from one party to another. That's what white papers do.
That's right. And there's some sneaky things that we can talk about how to make those things work. So I appreciate you being here, Steve, really, very much. A little bit about isiFederal. We provide getting you smart about the marketplace, marketing yourself, your company, your schedule, your contract vehicles to the federal buyers. We can help, like Jamie said, about getting GSA contracts, also BPAs, GWACs, IDIQs, the other contract vehicles that can help you get in front of the key decision makers and give them a reason to make it easy to buy from you. Biggest thing that we do better than anybody else is we provide representation here in DC and getting face-to-face with key decision makers on your behalf, so we look and smell like you when we go into accounts, and we build relationships that are sticky to you. And in certain instances, we actually provide the bid management and oversight of those proposals, especially when it comes to GSA e-buy and making sure that you get those submissions done right. We don't do proposal writing. That's one of the things we don't do. If you need that, we got folks that can help you with that, but that's not us. The rest of the BD pieces and the sales pieces is what we do every day, inside and outside sales support. So that's a high-level piece about that. A couple of housekeeping things on how this webinar works if you've never been here. So if you like the way I'm dressed and you want to make me expand, you just grab that little doodle on the left-hand side and you can make me bigger. And that can help there. The other piece is there's a worksheet that's dropped in that side panel, and you just open up that panel. You can find chats, you can ask us questions along the way, but you can also download that worksheet as well, which is in there. It's the same worksheet that I used last week, so it's going to say November 2nd, but there you go. You get the one that I used last week. If you have any questions, you can post them here. You can also, if you called in on the phone, make sure you enter your audio pin so we can unmute you, and then we can have dialogue just like I did with Steve. So the idea, and Jamie, so to be able to get those things running. So we're going to be talking about why you're here today in just a couple minutes. You can let us know if you have a particular question. You can ask it now, or you can ask it later. You can raise your hand, and we'll make sure that we'll get to you, right? So we'll get to that in just a minute. This is actually a recap. Here's one of the photos that I have from this. And what you can't see here, you see all these crazy people and me acting like a nut. This was actually, we had room for, last year we had room for 70, we had 130 show up. This year we had room for 125, and I handed out those handouts that you got there, the worksheet. I had 160 printed, and we handed them all out, and we're turning people away with that. So they were out the door, sitting on the floor. They were all over, people were all over the place, and we had a great time. Here's another picture of that for the other side of the room, and having just having a good time, being able to reach out to the folks at the NVSBE show. Most of the folks there are veteran-owned business and service-disabled vets, so we appreciate you, especially as we look at Veterans Day coming up on Friday, your service to our country, and we thank you for being here if you have served and you are a vet. I'm going to dive right into what we did on Wednesday and make sure that we're ripping right through this. So the current pattern that we're up against, folks, is that the incumbents are winning because they're selling to the right people. They already have relationships with the buyers and the program people. The folks actually like them. They like working with them. They're a trusted resource in many instances. They're satisfied, for the most part, on what the deliverables are from the incumbents, and they have existing contract vehicles, and they don't like to change, and they're risk averse. So those are the things that we're up against. If we're going to talk about how we can win in the federal space, we better be clear about what is happening right now. And the key question that we need to answer for the federal buyers and the program people, whoever is responsible for helping us grow our business, is this question: why should they let you in, or me in? Why should they let us in the door? Why should they even consider having a conversation with us? Because if we don't answer this question, then we're going to be missing the boat entirely, and we'll be asking some really clear questions. If you do anything in facilities maintenance, you probably recognize some of these folks, and if you do, if you've been in there, look at some of the dollars that are associated with these. These are incredible dollars. These are annual spends with particular companies. So you're in the billions in some of the instances, $500 million in other instances. These are huge dollars that are going out, your tax dollars being spent with your competition. And this is one of the things we want to get in the middle of, and I keep those dominoes from doing it. It's called disrupting the marketplace. And if there's anything we know, we've got to get in and disrupt the process if we want to win. And there's ways to be able to do that, and we're going to be talking about that right now. So we're going to ask some polls today. We have a bunch of people here already, but we'll poll whoever is here. All right, I am here today because, let's launch this poll. All right, the federal contracting world is new to me. I want to know how to get positioned for 2017 spending. I want to find opportunities before they hit the street. You can answer as many as you like here, by the way. Or I want to see if we really have a way to get ahead of RFPs. Hint, hint. And some federal sales nut just decided to send me an email, and I came. So whatever that reason is, let's make sure, just go ahead and let us know why you're here. I can't believe nobody picked some federal sales nut so far. You don't have to, just because I said it. But go ahead and let us know. We'll keep this open for another probably 10 seconds because everybody's still going. And we'll put us in here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll close that and we'll share those results. And so everybody knows that a lot of folks are actually in the same place, right? Some folks, 39%. This is new to me. Great. I'm glad you're here. This is great. How to get positioned, 56%, 61% want to find it before hit the street. Good, because that's really why you should be here. And you want to see if we can really help you get ahead of those RFPs, and hopefully we'll be able to illustrate that exactly. So with that, we'll get back into this. And here's what folks will say. Selling to the government's easy. Just watch FBO, right? If you haven't heard that yet, if you're new to the federal space, that's one of the things you're going to hear a lot. And check with my small business liaison, all that kind of thing, right? So what we're going to talk a lot about the process here and how to usurp that process to get in there. Just watch FBO. Here's the problems with FBO. First of all, it's a reactive marketplace. That means it gets posted on bid boards. Everybody and their mother can see it, right, in most instances. If it hits FBO, it's available and visible to everybody. 80% are virtual lock for the competition. What we mean by that, and we'll talk about that, is that folks are getting their information into the scope of work, right, into the specifications. 10% are never going to be awarded, and the other 10% that are winnable will likely have more than 5 competitors. And I really don't want to play against 50, 60, 100, 125 competitors. We've seen that. We've seen that level of response, right? So that leaves 7,500 winnable opportunities across the board over all industries. This is why we want to make sure, if we are getting it out on FBO, that we're getting ahead of that RFP. And we know about it before it hits the street, because by the time it hits the street, it's way, way, way too late. So some of the session objectives that I laid out for last week, and I'll do it again today. We're talking with owners, CEOs, and salespeople in this conversation. We want to shake and reshape your beliefs. We will want to help you work on your business instead of working in your business. Talking about relationship development with the key people and decision makers in the federal government, how to identify and develop winnable opportunities. And this is really the key, because my world actually comes from not being in the federal space. It's actually from the business consulting space, so that we can help you shed the minor and focus on the major when it deals with federal business development and sales. We'll give you some real tools that you can start using today, and that includes that worksheet. Get that worksheet. If you haven't downloaded the worksheet, download it, and because it has some key information on it that you're going to want to see. We'll show off what we do. We'll ask you to give us a shot at the end of this, and we'll give you 3 contacts that you would not have if you weren't here today. So there you go. I'm going to give you 3 contacts, and it'll be there's a hook to it, so we'll get to that in just a minute. With the session worksheet, instead of a response card, we're using the polls to be able to do this, but certainly we'll be asking you those things. Get that session worksheet, because we're going to dive right into it. And today we're going to be talking about beliefs. Beliefs is an acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. So the question is, what do you believe about the federal marketplace, especially about the federal marketplace? So we're going to ask that question. So with that, do you believe that the system is fair for everyone, that everybody has a fair shot at being able to win in the federal space? Is it heavily influenced by the incumbents? And we've heard this word a whole lot lately. Is it completely rigged for against you? Is it rigged against you? Or is it all about price? So let us know what you think about that, and we'll dive into these pieces, and we'll talk some more about that. And if you have some specific questions, we'll even get you engaged in this. So I'll give you another 10 seconds for that. Time is up for this poll. So 4% think it's fair for everyone. Good. That's good. Heavily influenced by incumbents. I agree. Is it completely rigged? Okay. It's all about price. All right. There you go. I think you'll find that there's truth in all of those in some form or fashion. So we'll hide those and we'll get that. But it all revolves around what we believe. So what do we believe? And this is just, I don't know who this guy is, but he says, whatever you think you can, whenever you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. And this is so true in everything that we do. If we believe that we can, then we will ultimately reinforce those beliefs. If we believe we can't, then we will ultimately not be able to do it. We talked about this in our roundtable session yesterday, about the beliefs of making phone calls and whether or not it's going to work. And when we hit a wall, we start and what people say to us start to infect our belief structure. So with that, I want to open the opportunity matrix, the winnable opportunity matrix, which is included on that download. So if you download that, you have access to this. We use this here to be able to determine whether or not we really are in a good place to be able to win when it comes to the opportunities. And you'll see what we want to do is we want to drive ourselves into the green because the incumbents are already in the green. And what we mean by green is, we'll take a look at each one of these steps, but getting ahead, if you know about something 60 days plus, the incumbents certainly do, right? Well, they're the incumbents, so they're already in the green. They have insider information that you don't have, right? And although there's an RFP that comes out, we know that there's things that happen behind the scenes that the incumbent understands because they've been under the tent. So we need to have some of this. Is the contract in our sweet spot? Is it budgeted? Did we actually set the budget? And is it funded? And finally, we start getting into the scope of work. Did we influence the scope of work? And did we get shortlisted? That's what the number of competitors. Are we effectively getting ourselves shortlisted? So, what is an opportunity? An opportunity is a result of a perceived need embodied in a purchase requirement that they feel will provide an adequate solution. I use perceived need because are they always asking for the right thing? The answer is no. They may not even know the question to ask because they're so far behind the curve, or the issues that they're facing are so dramatic that they don't even know what they should be asking for. So they're asking for, they say, I have a perceived need here, and it gets thrown over the fence to the procurement people, and then they're looking for an adequate solution to be able to do that. So in order to be able to get into the green in 2017, we want to adjust our mindset. That's the first piece that we have to do, and the first thing we need to do is adjust our mindset from opportunity, from monitoring for opportunities, to the people behind the opportunities. Should you monitor for opportunities? Certainly, but if we've all agreed that most of the time it's too late, by the time it hits FBO, then we better be paying attention to the people behind the opportunities. They don't just come out of the air. They come from people who have those needs, those perceived needs, and being able to construct that. So if opportunities come from people, winnable opportunities, where do they come from? They come from people who like us. And I don't care what you do. I don't care what services you have. I don't care where you live. People still buy from people they like. They certainly don't buy from people they don't like. So what we want to do is make sure that we get to the place where people are liking us. So here's the next question. How many RFPs are wired by the competition? So that's the question we have. How many RFPs are wired by the competition? And here is my answer to this question. And I think it's the answer we should all have. And guess what? Every one that I don't wire for myself. If I didn't wire it, then I know for a fact that it's wired by somebody else, and that's your competition. So rule one is, if I didn't influence the RFP, my competitor did. It's that simple. And everybody that just talked about, 83% said is heavily influenced by the incumbents. You're right. You're right. That's exactly right. So if we did not influence the RFP, our competitors did. That's a fact. And if we don't approach it that way, then we're going to be in trouble because we're going to think that it's fair. And it's not fair. It's not fair. It is a process. RFPs are a process of elimination, not inclusion. So what they're working to do is exclude you and me from the process. And we want to help them do that, except we want to be the ones that are on the inside as opposed to the outside, right? So where do we look for influence? We look for it in the scope of work, the specs that are out there. Do we see this, folks? Do we see this? We absolutely see this on a regular basis. We also see it in past performance. They might even say past performance in a specific division of a particular agency, right? A subset of an agency. You have to have 5 years of past performance in this agency with experience with this system. How many times do we see these things? And how many people are really capable of being able to fulfill that? Usually it's 1 or 2, maybe 3, maybe 5, but no more than 5 when you start looking at that. Certifications, what are the certifications that they're requiring? Who has those certifications? Probably your competition. And if you have them, we want to start using that same thing too, right? So the evaluation formula, if they look at it, best value or is it lowest price technically acceptable? Who can fulfill that evaluation formula? How does that lean towards somebody else, right? Sometimes it's even just the NAICS codes, right? Things like that. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about for getting ahead of the RFP, getting the process of influencing the scope, influencing the procurement process, and influencing the grading, and the incumbents do it, and so can we. We can get out in front of this process. We can. If we don't, we're going to lose. That I can tell you. If we're not ahead of this process and we're not doing exactly what the incumbents are doing, we are going to lose. So with that, we're going to shake and reshape your beliefs. I promise you this early. So here's the thing. When we're going after people, this is the cold hard truth. Somebody is going to be sold. So the question is, are you going to sell them that you have value, or are they going to sell you that you don't? Wow. This is the truth. Are they going to sell you that you don't have value, or are you going to sell them that you do? So here's the key. This sale has nothing to do with the other folks. It has to do with you and your beliefs. You're selling against yourself, what it is that you believe. Because what will happen is after you talk to a few people, it'll start to infect your mindset. And if you don't start unscrewing this and looking at it, say, oh my gosh, I have been sold a bill of goods that these people are too busy. They don't want to talk to me. How many OSDBUs tell you that the contracting folks won't meet with you or the program folks won't meet with you? That's a lie. They will. But you have to answer the question of why. If you give them a good reason, you will absolutely get in there. And it's interesting what a good reason really is. The first thing is this could be just picking up the phone for the first time. It could be the first interface. It could be meeting them in a networking event. Somewhere along the line, whatever that is, about meeting with you, either you're going to sell them that you have value enough to meet with them for a half an hour or 45 minutes, or they're going to sell you that you don't. So there you have it. That's the cold hard truth. 7 principles of federal sales. You can get these off of that sheet that's in there. People have the buying motives and patterns of the way that they operate. We all do. We don't drive Yugos. Why? Because it's not all about price. People still buy from people they like. You do have to follow the rules, and there's a bunch of minutia in the federal space, but they still buy from people they like, and they certainly don't do it from people they don't. There's 1 to 4 key people involved in the decision to buy from you depending on the level of your sale, and we'll talk about each one of those. They already have qualified resources. We talked about that. And incumbents having a significant advantage. Everybody believes that. And guess what? Here's where it gets into our world. If we're proactive, it beats reactive. If everybody else is responding to RFPs, great. Let them respond to RFPs. Beautiful thing. If everybody else is meeting with the small business liaisons and OSDBUs, let them. Because that's not the path that we're going to take, and we're going to be persistent in our path and going after the right people and helping you reach the right people. That is the key to being successful in the federal marketplace.